All right, it is recording, and I'm gonna mute my mic and camera, and it's yours, and we'll come back on here after you get there.
Great. All right, so thank you everyone for being here today. I cannot tell you how much I appreciate, every question, suggestion, note of encouragement that has gotten me to this point. So thank you for being here. I want to say excuse my voice or lack of voice today. I think the funny story about that is yesterday I was doing what I do best and momming. I think it's a testimony to, or a testament to, this degree. I think I'm earning a degree in multitasking above anything else. And so why I share this is my son had a great baseball game. He hit 2 home runs and a triple in a game, and I'm screaming, so I don't have a voice. And immediately after the game, I was shown an article that was produced about my son in this app called Game Changer. And essentially what I've learned is it uses artificial intelligence to instantly generate an article about a key player in a game. And I had looked back and there were several articles about him. I was unaware of this. And it was funny, it was timely that it happened yesterday as sort of a last reminder that this topic is extremely timely. It's constantly exciting me and showing me so many possibilities that we don't even think about. So that was just a fun little story that piqued my interest even more than it's already been piqued. So again, thank you. I am so excited today to share my findings with you, and I hope you enjoy. So here we go. So I'm going to quickly review, I know obviously you all sat in my proposal, but I'll quickly review the proposal phase that we went over a while back. So of course the integration of AI it's nothing new, and there's so much potential for it to do things like enhancing student learning experiences or decreasing teacher workload, but it's not without complexities. And so if we have a willingness to embrace new approaches, I think that's paramount to a successful integration. So the problem is that there's minimal research dedicated to understanding teacher perceptions surrounding this integration. The purpose of this qualitative study is to explore teachers' perceptions of the use of artificial intelligence as an instructional tool. So, with that said, I carefully crafted these research questions to guide my study. Research question 1 was, what are secondary teacher perceptions of the use of artificial intelligence as an instructional tool? Research question 2, what are secondary teacher perceptions of resources needed to use AI as an instructional tool? And lastly, research question 3, what are secondary teacher perceptions of the barriers to using AI as an instructional tool? The literature, we went in detail in my proposal about many of the themes that emerged. I talked about several studies that I really thought were going to guide my literature review. So today I'm just going to summarize the findings and the gaps in the literature. So you'll see here the topics that I investigated as the perceptions, resources, and barriers, and then those are, of course, what I was able to align tightly with my research questions. So I felt that would be the best way for me to gather the appropriate data needed to answer those research questions. As far as those conclusions, I found that there were teachers' beliefs about AI being explored as, sort of essential, and ethical frameworks being identified as crucial from the literature. Improving teachers' acceptance of AI appeared to be essential, and the qualitative research method being the way to better understand those is what was suggested as far as what I found in the literature, but that it was marginal and underutilized. So when I found all of this, it kind of helped me choose the path for my methodology. So I used that to guide me into my study. Those gaps, of course, forward, there we go. Those gaps consisted of people saying there was more of a need for qualitative studies so we could explore teachers' perceptions. Researchers saying that the relevant literature has not explored the integration of AI into the domains of learning, teaching, assessment, administration, and there was a lack of basic understanding of AI, so AI literacy, it wasn't there. And so Wang and Chu, who I cited several times, urged researchers to use more qualitative methods to better understand these perceptions. So that was a big justification for me to use these methods going into my study. So that said, the methodology section, here we go. The research design for this qualitative study was a phenomenological approach aimed at exploring the lived experiences of secondary teachers. So I felt this approach was most appropriate for me to obtain that data that would target my research questions and be perfectly aligned to what I was looking to find out. As far as my study participants, you'll see here a table. My study participants were selected using purposeful sampling. There were 10 secondary ELA teachers. You'll see my sample size here, n equals 10. They were all employed full-time by the district. They're currently certified in ELA, currently teaching 9th through 12th grade, and had between 1 and 37 years of experience. Collectively, my participants had a combined total of 136 years teaching experience for an average of 13.6 years per participant. Okay. Prior to this study, I obtained IRB approval with Lamar University. I completed an ethics course leading to my city certification. I obtained research site approval, both verbally and in writing. I used Zoom to collect my data through semi-structured individual interviews and captured audio and video after obtaining consent from each of my participants. So the interview sessions were recorded using Zoom, and then the transcription, of course, using Zoom. There were 10 individual semi-structured interviews, I hand-coded the data, served as a data analysis, and then what I did is I went back and I wanted to dual code my transcripts, so I used something called Quarkos, which was a lifesaver. It was super just user-friendly, it was color-coded, and helped me to code and group multiple themes. So I really appreciated that. And that sort of comes in to play here in my provisions of trustworthiness, where it was on this list. So you'll see the first thing I did is I wanted to use a peer review in order to have someone analyze the interview protocol that I created. I asked them to check for bias, any leading questions, and just ensure that the questions I was asking were going to align back to my research questions. So that was the first thing I did. I then had prolonged engagement with my participants. I wanted to build their rapport with me and just understand what their lived experiences were, so that I felt that it was important for me to convey truly what they were saying. And for that reason, they were offered the option to use member checking after the transcripts were hand-coded to ensure that I had captured what they were trying to say. And like I already said, the transcripts were then dual-coded using Quarkos, which I thoroughly enjoyed using. And we're going to get to the exciting part, which is the findings, the moment you've all been waiting for. So in regards to research question 1, remember research question 1 focused on teacher perceptions of how AI could be used as an instructional tool in the secondary classroom. So when I looked at this data, there were 3 themes that emerged, and that was emotional impact, practical uses, and potential impact. So you'll see a table here. The table's going to extend for a couple slides. This one you'll see emotional impact. There were several instances of words like excited, overwhelmed, unnatural, blessing, sounds scary. A lot of emotions were brought up throughout this question. On the next slide, you'll see that practical uses was also, this was interesting, it was pretty telling for me. So I had 90% of my participants share ideas for practical uses, and 80% of them had shared their perceptions on potential impact of integrating AI, but 100% of participants admitted that they weren't regularly using any of this in their own classroom instruction, which I found interesting. 50% of them cited their reason for not attempting to integrate AI was not knowing where to start. That exact phrase was spoken 7 times in the data collection procedure. And I think that that's very telling and definitely led me down the path that you'll see later on in my introduction to the project. Next. So even though my participants had not yet attempted to incorporate AI into their classrooms, they all shared positive statements regarding the potential impact that they believed AI could have. The most telling, and I think the one that probably summarizes for me my goal, my vision, that spoke to me the most in the data collection phase was this highlighted phrase that you see here, which says, I think the idea is that AI becomes the tool and not the master. So controlling it rather than being controlled by it should be the bottom line. So I thought that was rather interesting. Moving on to research question 2. Research question 2 identified teachers' perceptions of the resources needed to use AI as an instructional tool. So I created a table that showed those themes that emerged as technological infrastructure, professional development, and then acceptable use policy. The overwhelming resource identified by most participants was their desire to be trained in AI programs before they felt comfortable enough using AI. You'll see in technological infrastructure here that people cited a lack of actual hardware, a lack of devices, right? Whether it's Chromebooks, laptops, computers, whatever. And also mentioned lack of Wi-Fi or access to the AI sites that they have heard of or that they could use. In regards to professional development, you'll see that the excitement and curiosity of these participants was obvious. There were verbal and nonverbal cues in my interviews that let me know that professional development was something that they were clear that they didn't just need, they genuinely wanted to be trained. I thought that was very telling and again, definitely guided me in the project phase. While participants revealed their excitement and their hopefulness for integrating AI, several participants were adamant that they would not integrate unless there was a policy addressing acceptable use. And so a few participants shared their experiences with utilizing AI to help them with mundane tasks, but most participants were unaware of the capabilities of AI for teacher use. So I think that participants' responses revealed a grave need for that professional development plan for teacher and student use. Question 3. So research question 3 was regarding teachers' perceptions of those barriers impeding that integration. And so this table shows the major emerging themes as time constraints, ethical concerns, and quality and accessibility. So some participants expressed that the lack of resources were the most significant barrier, and then firmly believed that not having the professional development they needed was the significant barrier. So another barrier, according to their feedback, was concerns about ethics. This one was huge. Collectively, 80% of my participants mentioned ethics. And a variety of their responses confirmed that this was definitely emerging as a theme. One participant felt that teachers' use of AI to grade assignments was a violation of ethics. In contrast, 50% of the participants who brought up some type of ethical concern were more concerned with when and who would teach the students ethics involving AI. So I think that reveals how student-focused my participants were and also confirmed what I said earlier, which is that I think there are a lot of teachers that don't understand the possibilities of their use of these AI tools. And I think it justifies even further their need for that training. So many participants did not feel that they could accurately identify a high quality AI tool, simply because they had not been exposed to the various programs that are out there. And so in regards to quality and accessibility, teachers mentioned sites being blocked, AI lacking sophistication, not always offering what it is that they're prompted or asking for. And a lot of people mention that it takes time to filter through these sites to be able to identify what is a high quality AI site. So in summary, my carefully crafted research questions were designed to encourage my participants to be open and honest and allow me to explore their lived experience as a group of individuals. And that's what helped me guide my study. So overall, the participants had positive attitudes about the possibility of integrating AI into their classrooms. Some participants, like I said, had already attempted to use some tools, and others just remained hesitant. And so the overwhelming response from the data collection phase was a need for professional development training before they felt comfortable enough to integrate AI into their classrooms. So, although many participants shared their hope and excitement about integrating instructional tools like AI, there was still much hesitation surrounding the issue. So there were significant concerns for ethics. There was a concern for sufficient technological infrastructure, and of course training. And I mean, those were unavoidable. Like those, when I was doing the data analysis portion of my study, they were almost jumping off the page. It was glaringly obvious that these were the concerns and what provided this hesitation for my participants. So moving to the implications of this, there we go. The findings of the study reveal that there is an overwhelming number of positive perceptions revealing the participants' excitement and curiosity surrounding this integration, but the implications are justifying more so this need for ongoing professional development. And I feel that that would address the broadest needs of the participants in what they revealed in their interviews. In regards to the practical applications of this study, which I think is important because this also is what I considered in the project phase of my study. And so I use this image to guide me. This is from Brent Anders, who I've been following throughout this journey. He does a lot of podcasts and articles and blogs about integrating AI and sort of tackling it. And so he created this continuum that you see here on the screen of AI integration, which I think is really interesting because I think it's critical that before we can integrate on a campus, say like mine, where we're very rudimentary in this AI integration phase, I think that something like this, understanding this continuum, would allow all stakeholders involved to understand what the goal of full integration would even look like, understand where you are and where you want to go. So I think that this image just sort of depicts what that continuum is and how we approach that integration phase. So that brings us to the project, which I'm so excited about. This is fun for me. And so regarding the project, based on the interpretations that I found from the data collected, I developed some strategies to address collective and individual needs of teachers and students. I think that the art of integrating AI as an instructional tool requires a well-structured plan, and that is exactly what I aimed to do. So let's take a look. So I designed a professional development plan in alignment with Cresswell and Pulse suggested approach to phenomenological studies. And that was to address the needs of your participants collectively and individually. And that's what I attempted to do here. So it would be essential to understand that these shared experiences, we need a sort of a deeper understanding, right, of the phenomenon. So how do we go about that? So what I came up with was the following. You have a pre-assessment survey that's going to be conducted to gauge educators' familiarity with not just AI, but just technology in general, followed by a resource assessment that would evaluate the existing technological infrastructure that includes hardware, software, internet access, etc. Then the following two pieces that I created is a professional development series. So you have a summer professional development series, which is sessions that will be workshops that introduce teachers to the basics of AI applications, potential in education, etc. And then the follow-up is the back to school PD before the students return, where it's more of a hands-on training, getting them to see the secondary specific suitable tools. This could include software that's AI powered, chatbots, things like that. Now, the ongoing support comes in the form of PLC visits and Workshop Wednesday series. So what I did there is the PLC visits, professional learning community, would assist educators in designing lesson plans that are going to incorporate the AI tools to enhance student learning and encourage educators to collaborate and share their resources. Once they get to that phase, this Workshop Wednesday series is going to basically invite them as pilot teachers to come share their experiences, their challenges, their successes, to sort of, approach and infiltrate the masses, right? I think a lot of times teachers learn best from each other. And so this Workshop Wednesday series that I'm proposing is the ability to get them in and see what's working for their colleagues before they try it themselves. And lastly, this would be followed with a post-assessment survey, which would analyze student performance data so that we could assess the impact of the integration of AI on student learning outcomes, which is always the end goal, right? So I want to show you what that looks like. Some of my creations here. So this is what the pre-assessment is going to look like. Again, this is going to gauge their familiarity with AI and technology proficiency. What's interesting here is I chose to show them how AI, and it says this on the top if you can see it, how AI can generate something like this. So with a prompt to include a 5-point Likert scale, I explained to a chatbot that I wanted to gauge educators' familiarity with AI, and this is what it produced. Of course, I had to tweak it, but the point was to show that something like this is something I could use AI to guide through. So that's what this was. And then the next thing was an FAQ that I created to really just draw participants into the PD series. So you'll see here some very relatable questions that I could see teachers asking and wanting to know the answers to, and then provided realistic answers. My goal, again, was just to draw them in. This is something that I would make sure to post obviously well in advance just to pique their interest. And I think what's most interesting about this is the image you'll see at the end here. Of course, teachers always want a takeaway, right? An immediate takeaway. What can I get out of this session? What can I go to my classroom and use right now? And so what this image shows is you'll see along the perimeter of the wheel, different areas like research, text, images, coding, such like that. And then there's the actual tools, the AI-powered tools as examples in that section of the wheel. So if our photography teacher wanted to teach students how to use AI-generated images, they would go to Gala, let's say. And so this is just sort of a quick guide to tell them if you're trying to produce this, use this site. And so I think that they'll appreciate that, just that takeaway. And so that leads me to the next thing, which is also geared towards drawing teachers into the PD series. So I created this flyer, And you'll see here, it details the professional development series, so the summer series and the back to school series, with the dates, where they can register. So I basically create the course in Eduphoria. They're allowed to register there. This is something that I would post and send out to the masses, right? And I think that something like this would help promote the series. And sorry, pardon the bell. Then you'll also see at the bottom of the flyer, I included the ongoing support. So for a lot of our teachers, especially those who aren't comfortable with technology, great, you're gonna bring me through a PD, but how are you going to help me after I leave? I think sometimes PDs are great, but if there's no follow through, where do we go from here? How do you expect this integration to happen with just a sit and get by, see you later type of approach? So I think that these two bullets of the PLC visits and the Workshop Wednesday series are crucial to ensuring that this integration is successful. Lastly, I want to go over the recommendations for future research. So the research questions for my study covered a pretty broad phenomenon, which is AI integration. So in a more specific setting, being ELA classrooms, I think that studies in the future could explore the phenomenon in other settings and possibly explore pedagogical and technological methods of integration other than what I chose to look at. The other suggestion would be utilizing a research site that has already begun the integration process of using AI as instructional tools. I know those campuses exist, and I think that a research site like that could serve as a pilot school for those of us trying to better understand this integration. This could guide future research. It could capture perceptions of more stakeholders than, say, just teachers, and provide crucial data regarding the impact of AIED on the student learning outcomes that we talked about, and then teacher job satisfaction, which is also a timely issue given the state of education that we're in and this massive teacher shortage. So I think that there's some potential for upcoming research to tackle a lot of timely and very crucial components of education as we know it. So those would be my recommendations. After that, I just have the list of the references that I used to get ready for this defense. Those are available at your disposal. And of course, I want to thank you, my committee, for being here, for riding the ride with me. I really appreciate everything you've done and your time. So thank you. I'd like to open the floor to you guys for any questions you have for me.
Really great job. So proud of your effort, and your work is just so amazing. Dr. Yin, you have some questions or comments?
I would like to give you compliments only. Yeah, this time you did an awesome job, and I noticed that I really appreciate that you took some of my suggestions. For example, to create a nice, clear table to address participant demographics. And that's very clear and very professional, and I think that just gives us more information about the working experiences aligned with the teaching experiences, and that's also gives us more valid information. It makes sense how those teachers' perception on using AI. Yeah, and I also appreciate that you took my suggestion to use the percentage in a more accurate way to address many or few participants if they know that or they don't know where to start for using AI. And also I appreciate that you address the coding scheme, that you use the dual coded to improve trustworthiness by using quote. This is something I think you did a great job. So this makes your methodology more thorough, more valid. Yeah, it's a very strong methodology, very strong research design. So definitely, it takes you to provide a very complete, good data finding. That also makes me feel like, oh, this is the best AI topic dissertation I ever seen so far. Yeah. So your findings is a very insightful, and I like how you use the theme to address, say, some of the data, the findings on how to use AI, like associated with emotional impacts, practical impacts, potential impacts. Yeah, you really did a good job to synchronize, categorize those data. Yeah, this is such a great researcher's quality. Yeah.
Thank you.
So, yeah. So it's also, I can tell that that's why you provide a great future research direction. You know how to provide implementation for educators, for PD, for all the different like 25 AI tools, that how to use that for the future. You're not just a report data, but you also provide very insightful suggestion and make a plan for the future. This is a very significant. Yeah, so I'm really impressed. Strong work.
Thank you, Dr. Yan.
So Dr. Harrison, your comments?
Yeah, so this is just to add to a little bit more than what we were talking about earlier prior to starting, Nicole. I thought you did an excellent job. I was very impressed on the practical application plan that you had. I mean, you covered all the bases. You had plenty of opportunities for people, no matter what their where they are on the AI continuum. You've provided plenty of activities and times and places for people to go to, so that they can't say, "Oh, I don't have enough time." Well, you've offered so many things that's going to help them to be better off in the future of AI and the use of AI. PD, not only for students, but also for teachers. My question is, how are you going to do this? Do you have people at your campus and at your district that maybe is somewhat as familiar with it as you are, or feel confident, I guess, to be able to help you in this huge, PD process in schooling all these people up?
So I do have access, first of all, to the resources or people and spaces that allow me to provide professional development, period, right? Because I already do that in a different capacity, not for AI, but those resources are ready, available. And I also have, I'm on our leadership team here on campus. And so I think that for me, I'm working closely with all teachers on various issues centered around emergent bilingual students, because that's a booming population here. And so there's also, the ability to tackle, that population and what it looks like to incorporate AI in, English language proficiency, which is our goal for our newcomer students. And so whether it's integrating, the AI into those professional developments or creating just these without my EB lens, if you will, yes, the possibilities are there. And I think for me, the reason why I created the project the way I did, particularly that Workshop Wednesday series and that PLC visit bullet point, is because I'm already going into these professional learning communities. So if this is something that I can integrate in that way and getting teachers used to the integration or just the nuances surrounding it, it's sort of my way of, keeping that ongoing support. And then those Workshop Wednesday series are almost open for, like I said, pilot teachers to share what is working and what is not, their struggles, their successes in anything, right? So for me, for this study, it would just be a matter of, probably me starting it off, but then me sort of, recruiting, if you will, the teachers that are using and are attempting this integration. And that's what that Workshop Wednesday series is. It's not just me talking to everyone every month, right? Who wants to hear that? But using other teachers, like I said, people want to hear from their colleagues who are in the classroom right now dealing with post-COVID education. What's working for you? Because it doesn't matter how many years of experience in the classroom I have or anyone else has. But at some point, teachers want to hear from people, in the trenches right now, with me in the trenches. What are you doing? What is working with students in 2023? Not 2018, before COVID, right? What are they doing now? And so Workshop Wednesday series, that's the biggest way to tackle what you're asking, Dr. Harrison, and that's my intention. Would be
so the one thing that also was an eye-opener for me, I didn't realize that it was only 5 days when AI, came out, that they had 1 million users in 5 days. That's unbelievable. So yeah, it's here. Here, people are using it. They're going to use it. We have to figure out how they can use it in positive ways. I'm glad your participants, are excited and are, they're positive about it. And if you have positive participants, then that certainly makes your job a lot easier and will involve a whole lot more people. So great job. Excellent job. Fired up.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll throw in some last comments here. I really think that you work extremely hard. And so, whenever I see our first conversations and then the seedbed of things that have just grown and grown and grown, and the articles that we've shared back and forth, it's really great. Your work ethic is super. And, it's very unique in that you're a researcher, and yes, you have a topic, but your skills then at taking that data and using it as a project, the way that you develop this ongoing plan really demonstrated that not only are you a researcher, but you're an expert on how to teach and how to the andragogy of working with adults, right? Because we can't treat adults like children and expect it to work. I see it all over the place. I love how you took each activity or each segment or component of your work and your plan, and you tied it back to your research question. You didn't say, hey, I'm dreaming this stuff up, and you need it because Nicole says you need it. And so I just think it's fabulous. I just think that you've done a wonderful job.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the professors before I ask Nicole to step out of her room for a second while we visit?
Yeah, it's like some small suggestions. Because this time, Nicole, you focus on secondary ELA teachers. Maybe in the future, if we can make this your training PD more influential, you can include other content areas secondary teachers, and then you can compare their different perceptions or how different they use AI based on their own subject. That'll be very generalized and very fascinating.
Yeah, I think that's a great suggestion because, and Dr. Harvey and I talked about this in the early phases of who I wanted to target, and the English teachers were the most, that emotional impact we talked about. They seem to have the most emotions regarding AI because they were the ones that were negatively experiencing the cheating, right? We talked about cheating. When you don't teach students or teachers the ethics surrounding AI, and you just have a kid watching a video on social media that says, hey, this AI chatbot can write a paper for you. Well, if they haven't been taught otherwise, then that's what they're doing. And that's what the English teachers were finding. And I felt like it was giving them this negative, perception of AI. And it was like, oh, AI, I don't want to hear about it. Chatbots, I don't want to hear about it. Because they were only seeing the bad. And so ultimately I decided to tackle them in hopes that they'd be the most honest regarding how to even start this integration, because I knew they had a bad taste in their mouth. Once ChatGPT was launched in the fall of 22, I mean, the floodgates were open. And the school district's response was just to block it. Well, you can't block it at home. So if we're not teaching them here, we're not allowing them to use it here, but we know they're going home using it, what are we doing about that? And so I agree with you. I would love to see what other content areas say and how they feel. And I think it would look similar, but I think the ELA teachers, like I said, they just had a stronger emotional impact from, this rollout, if you will. And that's ultimately why I chose them. But yes, it'd be very interesting to see the others.
They'll all follow your proposal.
Yeah, they would all follow you. Mm-hmm. And all we have to do is think back on our senior English teachers, and we would know why you chose them, right?
So just out of curiosity, was it, with your participants, I know you had a wide range of experience. Was it the ones with quite a few years of experience were the ones that threw up their hands and said, I don't want to have anything to do with it, or those were also the ones that before we do this, I want to make sure that it's, we go through a process of making sure it's all legit.
So I'm glad you asked this question, because I figured if anyone asked what the most surprising thing about this study was, it's the one and only surprising thing, because I could honestly say that I pinpointed a lot of things that I would have just assumed or thought, and that came to be in my findings. But the one thing that surprised me was the opposite of what you would think.
Really?
Question, yes. My most veteran teachers were the ones that had even just said that they were trying, had tried things, had heard of things. The ones with the most ideas for practical uses and the ones that were most willing to or had already tried to integrate were the most senior teachers on that list. And I think that's incredible, right? And, some of the more rookie teachers, more novice teachers, were the opposite. We're saying, well, if I can't identify a high quality AI site, I don't want to use it. Until I know that there's an acceptable use, I'm not comfortable. And so it's truly the opposite of what I thought would have happened just looking on paper. Of course, that's what you would assume, and that's not the case. So that was
that's very interesting, and to some extent, it goes back to my experience as a principal superintendent. That when a young person becomes a teacher, initially, I can say that I've often thought that we need a culture in teaching where we had rank, and to the point that you're a master teacher. But many times when people start off, they're graders. And the most important thing they're concerned about is the grading. And then the most competent teachers, the one at the end, they're really concerned about teaching. And they're really concerned, they may give you 50 opportunities, where sometimes that's not always true. Anyway, Nicole, thank you so much. And I want to ask you to step out. I've got your phone number. If you just step out into the hallway, and I'll call you back as soon as we get through our conversation here.
Yes, sir. Thank you, everyone.
Well, we had a good presentation today, Dr. Vargas, and we're so proud of you. You did a great job. And I cannot hear you yet. You didn't get that one?
Oh, we have to make
your host okay. Let me do that. I get you. I figured to put you right back again.
There you go. I was like, somebody will be able to read lips.
Yeah, well, so anyway, we're real proud of you. You did a wonderful job. You've represented your family and yourself very well, and you represented Lamar University very well. That's one of the best. These colleagues have been in this a while, and it's really a super job that you've done. I want to encourage you, let's get together and let's figure out how we can publish this work and maybe put you on the road to make a couple of presentations. I just think that you've done a really marvelous job. I want to give you a couple of things, but first I'd like the others, Dr. Harrison, Dr. Yen to speak, and then I want to wrap it up. Dr. Harrison?
Are you going to cry after you get off this?
It might not be after. I'm trying.
That's okay. I cried like a baby, and I know, and I'm crying now because I know how important this is for you. And I guess my other question, how long since you first started the program? Where are you? Is this 4.5, 5 years now?
No, actually, when the program began, I started in May of 21, and I was told you couldn't do it in 2.5 years. It's only unicorns do that, Dr. Young told me. And I said, oh, I'm going to do it.
You started in 21.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
You did a wonderful job, Dr. Vargas. Proud of you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Congratulations, Dr. Vargas.
You guys keep saying that. You know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
That great title. Yeah. All of your hard work gets paid off. Yeah. Well deserved. It used to be called Dr. Vargas.
It's so weird.
Hey,
Who are you talking to?
Well, I want to give you a couple of things, and these are things that were passed on to me, right? So I want to tell you that you always need to be Nicole. People don't like those that are double emphasis on doctor, and when you write your name, it's either Dr. Dr. Vargas, or it's Nicole Vargas, EDD. It's never Dr. Nicole Vargas, EDD, PhD, underlined with pictures and fly. And at some point in time, you have to be yourself.
Yeah.
And I think that your name is Nicole. And believe it or not, I will take surveys and just try to communicate with people, and they're so proud of themselves, which they should be. But whenever you become arrogant to the point that you put your first name as Doctor and Nicole, somehow in all this, I hope that what you will do is you'll remain approachable, and people will respect you more by that. For the next couple of days, your family should call you Dr. Nicole or something, but not too much longer than that. But I pass that on to you and encouragement, and just real proud of you. Now, one thing that you need to do after this is get a hold. It's like buying a house, you have a lot of paperwork at the end, right? So what you need to do is you need to get a hold of Kimberly Elizondo. You remember Kimberly, and you need to tell her that you have successfully completed this. And to have her get you the right forms that you need, and we need to get after, because there is a timeline on all this, right? But you seldom take more than a day to get your stuff together.
Yeah.
But whatever you need, get with her on that, and she'll line you up. And any questions you might have for us or anything?
No, I think all my forms, if not, are complete. The one that, if you remember, the grad editor that needed do I have your approval to send that? Because you remember she said you're going to need the committee signatures, so I can send that today if that's all right with you.
Yeah, I think she has Dr. Harrison's signature already. If not, Kimberly can get it. And what she'll do is she'll use virtual signatures, and Dr. Yang can step right over there and just sign it from Kimberly. And so the big thing is we see her regularly, and Glenn is remote here, and once again, wonderful use of technology, right?
Yeah.
So the big thing is get with her. She will help shag down anything, signatures that you need. She will just help you. She's wonderful at that.
Right.
But anyway, congratulations to you again, and I don't have anything to say else other than congratulations, but reach out to her, all right?
I will. You guys, thank you. I really couldn't have chosen a better committee, so I really appreciate it. You guys are my biggest fans and cheerleaders, and I really appreciate it, so thank you so much.
But you'll be there in December, right?
Yes, sir. My children need
Oh,
to. They need to see this. I'm big on, the value of education starts young, and I need them. I need them to see this. So yeah,
Yep,
we'll be there.
Go and celebrate tonight or whenever.
Yeah, I will.
You deserve that too.
I will. Thank you.
You bet.
All right. Take care, guys.